the one and the only living God, but you have turned your back upon him. He goes on right here to say, hath the nation changed their gods, which were yet no gods? But my people have changed their glory for that which is not profitable. He says, be astonished, O you heavens, at this, be horribly afraid. Be ye very desolate, saith the Lord. For if my people have committed two evils, they have forsaken me, the fountain of living water, and hid them out cisterns, broken cisterns, that cannot, or that can hold no water. Is Israel a servant? Is he a homeborn slave? Why is he spoiled? The young lion roared upon him and yelled, and they made his land waste. His cities are burned without inhabitation. Also the children of Nopal and Pansy have broken the crown of thy head. Hast thou not procured this unto thyself? And that thou hast forsaken the Lord thy God, when he led thee by the way. And now what hast thou to do in the way of Egypt, to drink of the waters of Sihar? Or what hast thou to do in the way of Assyria, to drink the waters of the river? Notice verse 19, we'll stop on this. Thy own wickedness shall correct thee. Thy backsliding shall reprove thee. Know therefore and see that it is an evil thing and a bitter, that thou hast forsaken the Lord thy God, and that my fear is not in thee, saith the Lord of hosts. For this nation, what made America great? The thing that made it great was who it feared. What made families great was who they feared. A nation that its principles was based on the Word of God has now turned to a nation where it is now illegal to even have God's name in a public place. Please hang with me this morning. Something really stirs my heart. To sit back and see a nation that's steadily deteriorating and a church that is numb to the fact. What made a nation great is who it feared. Now we're living in a nation now where it is illegal to even have God's name in a public place or on any kind of public documents. Taking out God's name out of everything we do, out of our courthouses, out of our schools. Where did this start? Did it start with the unlearned or the uneducated? Did it start with the heathens or with the drunkards? The wino or the prostitute? Did it start with the church, with the dope head, the crackhead? Did it start in the ghetto or in the projects? Did it start in mainstream America? Did it start in the blue-collar society, the white-collar, the rich, the poor, or to the middle class? Where did it start? Where did it downgrade of America and to bring it to the position that it's in? Some people may not realize what we're on today. But if you begin to study and begin to read and begin to look down and to begin to into prophecy, you will find out that America is on very, very shaky and unstable ground. When America owes more than it can possibly make in a year's time, that at the drop of a hat now we can go back into captivity. Our land that was one time free now is standing on the brink of not having freedom. One country rise up and say we want to collect and America cannot produce. What would you do? You will be just like you are as a homeowner when you cannot pay your bills that will come and get your stuff. When you can't afford to pay for your car, the repo man comes and gets it. When you can't afford to pay for your house, The mortgage people come and get it. When you cannot pay for it then as the country, what do you have to give? What will they come and get? They come and get your stuff. A country that owes more than what it can possibly pay back. And day by day, not only going millions of dollars in debt, but trillions of dollars in debt. Where did this start? One person who affected a family, which in return affected the community, which affected a society, which ultimately has had a great impact upon the church. America has become an idolatrous nation. Stay with me here and do not miss no more of the service. I said America has become an idolatrous nation. What does it mean to have an idol or to be into idolatry? What it means to be into idolatry is when you now place something above the one that you've been serving. An idol now is something that consumes and now consumes your time and controls who you are and what you do. What would you say today would be the most controlling factor in your life? What would you say today would be the most controlling factor as a nation? It's not hard to figure out. We've become an idolatrous nation. From the lowest to the greatest, from the church to Wall Street, the dollar controls us. No matter what society you're from, no matter whether you're blue collar, white collar, Wall Street, the church, sitting on the street corner, the dollar controls us. Whether a school teacher, whether a lawyer, the dollar controls us. One of the things now in America, the biggest factor in America now is how much money, the debt that we're in, trying to be able to make sure the dollar controls our government. And it controls our elected officials. It controls our Senate. It controls how our kids are educated. If you don't believe me, let kids begin to drop out of school. And you will see that the government no longer will be able to fund the appropriate measures that it needs to educate your kid in a certain manner. Money controls the way our kids are educated. It controls what they are even being taught today. It controls our church boards, our deacons, our preachers, which ultimately has an effect on what is being preached and what is being taught. One of the saddest things I heard was years ago was a thought that I have never forgot. Probably sometimes like me that I do speak maybe my opinion maybe a little too much. But they begin to make mention as the pastor was standing there that if you're a part of a certain denomination now, that they are able to offer you a good thing, I reckon. That you can get Blue Cross and Blue Shield, you can get retirement, you can get all the benefits, and you can have this and have everything. The downfall of that is now the preacher now is up under bondage. Because he does not preach what the deacons of the congregation would now begin to be a soul-soothing message. He's now at jeopardy of losing his 401k, his Blue Cross Blue Shield, and now his retirement. So now he's controlled by the same thing that controls all other Americans, the dollar. We live in an antichrist society. Listen to me. An antichrist society which says, if you don't do it my way, I will take away the power for you to be able to buy, sell, or trade. The Antichrist, probably some of us recognize this, and I'm going to be very short on this brief explanation. Years ago, we preached a message called The Spirit of the Antichrist. I don't know where it's at. I don't even know if I can even get it back up anywhere or not. Maybe it's on CD. I know it's on CD somewhere. I don't know if that was the basic title of that message. The spirit of the Antichrist in the book of Revelation begins to give a description of what he does. And he begins to say that anybody that does not worship him will have to take a mark called, and we're all identified with this, called the mark of the beast. The number 666. Which now begins to tell you, up until you receive this mark, you can no longer buy anything in the grocery store. Antichrist is after control. He wants to control your life. He wants to control your home. He wants to control what you're teaching your kids, and he wants to control what you're being taught. He wants to control your way of thinking. He wants to get you on line with him, that there's not but one God, and it's not the true and the living God. This is what the Antichrist, he is against Christ. He does not want Jesus mentioning anything. He does not want you serving him. He does not want you recognizing him. He does not want you worshiping him or lifting your hands to him. Does this sound familiar? Do you realize when you begin to look at this society in the book of Revelation how close we are? Where we sit at today, he said if you don't take the mark, you will not be able to buy, you will not be able to sell, and you will not be able to trade. Maybe it's like having some kind of card. They would have to give you identification or a pass to get in. It was ironic, boy, that I made a connection years ago